All right, well, welcome back, everybody, to the Pivot Point of View. I'm Dexter Millsap, along with Becky Pearson. And last weekend at Battle in the Saddle, they had cold plunging. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about benefits, why you should do it, maybe why you shouldn't, and just help you learn more about the thought process behind cold plunging, other than people are crazy. So it has a lot of physical and mental benefits, and so. Becky, first of all, tell us how Battle in the Saddle went.
It went good. It was super hot, which you guys are probably very well used to those hot temperatures for barrel racing. In Nebraska, it's not quite as hot up here usually. I think we were 107 one day. I mean, it was well above 100 every day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so I had this idea after talking to Sam Flannery. She had started cold plunging, and I thought, that would be a great idea for a really hot barrel race, wouldn't it? And so I got online and I started looking at how much they were, and I found one. It honestly was like $50 on Amazon. So, it didn't break the bank. Yes, you had to manually put ice in it, but I didn't know how well it would go over. And so I didn't want to put a whole bunch of money into this. And so got it here, got it put together, kind of figured out what I was going to do with it. And the first day on Friday, I think I was the only one to get in it. And so, yeah, even though everybody was hot, I think they all were just like, I don't know. But then on Saturday, we had quite a few people take advantage of it. And it started off with people that were used to cold plunging. And so it's kind of a trend or that's happening right now. Cold baths are not new. Ice baths are not new. Like Destry, you and I've used them in therapeutic benefit places for years, right? And so, but now people are figuring out there are more benefits than just your aches and pains. And so, it is pretty trendy right now, but it was a great way to spend a very hot barrel race, after you got done. It was great to go take a dip. So, talking about the benefits of it, so some of the benefits are obviously it'll cool you down. We did have to be careful if some of them were a little too hot. I didn't want to get them in and totally shock their system. But it does give you quite a bit of pain relief. And so when you're in the cold water, what happens is your blood vessels actually restrict, and it's like an anti-inflammatory. So instead of taking a pill for your inflammation, you just get into a ice cold bath, and it will restrict your blood vessels and really help with the inflammation that you have in your body. So, have you used cold plunging recently with your athletes there at the high school?
Oh yeah, all the time, and for more than just like, you have it for emergency purposes if somebody overheats, or you have it for therapeutic purposes for us. And so, like using it for inflammation, or we use it a ton for recovery days. And so kids will come up there, they'll we have now we don't have one that we have to put ice in. We have a sure enough cold tub that stays cold all the time. It's like a jacuzzi if it's six people, and we can run kids in and out of there just so quickly, and just help them feel better, feel their best for the next day's practice, or especially like before a game. And so, one of the things that we're pretty cautious of is if kids have certain issues that shouldn't be cold plunging or anything like that. You have to pay attention to that. But other than that, the only thing that we're really careful of is the timing of it. And so, you don't want to do it before. Like some people, there is some research that says if you shock the system before, there's some benefits before. We don't really like to do that. We like to do it post stuff. but we also don't do it after resistance training. There's new research out that says that if you do it right after resistance training, then it can hinder muscle growth. So there are those studies coming out. So the timing of it is pretty important. But in a recovery type deal, I mean, it's been undefeated really because of what it does, constricting those blood vessels, and then the warming factor after getting the new blood back into those muscles and flushing out all the bad toxins and everything else. And then the new blood comes in, gives the muscles nutrients, oxygen, all the things that it needs to rebuild itself for the next day. And so, like during tournament days, man, it's a game changer giving our kids the edge to be their best the next day of a tournament because typically, that compounding of um, stress on the muscles and day after day, that can really bring them back a lot quicker to where day three they're maybe even stronger than day one.
Yeah. I think it's so cool. So you guys do use it for people overheating. So I was a little worried about that. Probably should have had a blood pressure cuff with me, but I didn't. But if somebody is really hot, you do put them in there then, or do you take some precautions if they're super hot before you put them in, or?
So so the reason that we use it for that is the NATA has a position statement that in order to cool somebody down, that is full cold water immersion is the best and most recommended way to cool somebody off that is overheating. And you can't even transport somebody that's overheating. They recommend you cool first down to I think it's 102 body temp before you even are supposed to transmit them. So, and so what we'll do is we'll put something underneath of them in the cold tub so we can get them out of there if we need to. If there's some sort of like, you know, issue where we got to get them out and do any type of life-saving measures or anything like that,
Mhm.
their temperature, you're supposed to do a rectal temp and all this stuff, and it varies state by state. If you're, I mean, it's awful, but that's the again best practices what they recommend. Talk about rectal temperatures today. That's something kind of new, but I mean, it's not a new practice. I did not expect to talk about it, but that is the most recommended way to when somebody is overheating, and then there's the whole like I don't know. There's a whole bunch of different stuff that goes with that, but that is the way you're supposed to take a temp, um, and cool them off before you transport. But anyway, that's just the NATA position statement, and it's obviously controversial on both ends of how people do it, but that is best practices for that.
Yeah. So the other benefits that I've read about recently, which is super interesting to me, is that it can actually stimulate your brown fat in your body. And so the benefit of brown fat is that it helps you burn fat when you're not in a cold plunge. So, brown fat is like the fat that, hibernating bears or things like that. Like it's your good fat actually, and it actually helps you burn your bad fat. And so, the cold plunge can actually stimulate the brown fat, and so it can help stimulate your ability to burn burn off calories and burn off body fat. And so I'm going to start doing this more often because I want
Yeah,
more burn
I,
fat.
I was surprised at how affordable those things are, really. I mean, to get one, if you have access to some sort of ice, then to get one of those $50 ones, which it seemed like it was a pretty good quality deal. Um, yeah, I was surprised at how affordable it actually is. And the general population, you're right, it is getting more common in the general population for all of the physical, but also mental benefits that have been shown to come along with cold plunging. So, for instance, it increases the science behind it is it increases dopamine and norepinephrine levels. So that is associated with focus, happiness, those types of things. So, it the mental benefit of it, also increasing mental resilience and reducing stress and anxiety are other mental benefits. So, not like anybody has anxiety or stress anymore. So, um, it's also shown to do things mentally and how it affects the brain. Um, just is really interesting as well.
Yeah. Well, and I tell you what, it kind of takes some mental toughness to step into that. You know, you have to force yourself in there. And um, when I got in on Saturday, I had just put new ice in there. It was very difficult, as hot as it was, to keep it ice. Like I was busy working on people, so I couldn't be running to go get ice. I had a Yeti cooler, so I was able to keep some ice on hand. But um, yeah, it did take a little bit, but it's kind of like when you go jump in a cold lake, you've got to just like jump in. And so I was able to talk to a lot of people that are doing it on a regular basis. One was a chiropractor, and he has a cold plunge in his chiropractic clinic because he is doing more rehab based and therapeutic based chiropractic stuff. Um, and he just has a chiller on his, and he does it, like multiple times a week. Another gal, her and her workout group, they meet up and they go jump in a pond literally I think they do it once a week. Even in the winter, they chop open a hole in the ice and they jump in the ice. And she was a stud. Like she did it for 10 minutes and just really, she was used to it. So it if it's the first time you've done it, don't expect to sit in there for 10 minutes. We did have, my water got a little bit warmer at some point, and so, some of the ladies were able to tolerate 10 minutes on their first time. But I mean, it was still cooling benefit to them. You also get the hydrostatic pressure too. So there's benefit to water therapy in that, the pressure from water helps to basically push out swelling from your limbs. And with that vasoconstriction, like if you do carry a lot of swelling in your feet and your lower legs in the summer, this might be a great way to help manage that as well, because that pressure from the water kind of helps push that out. So, lots and lots of benefits of it. I'm really glad it's getting a lot of attention right now. I did pull up a beginner cold plunge protocol, and I thought I'd share that with people if they're wanting to get started with this. And so it talks about your water temp being 45 to 60 degrees. And like Sam Flannery was talking about, she just like her water out of her hose is like 50 degrees. And so she just runs her cold plunge new right before she gets in it. So you really don't necessarily always have to have access to ice on these. And some people were even talking about using a stock tank that they have at home, So really you might be able to just do this with things that you have at home. But the temperature you want to begin with the water between probably 50 to 60 degrees. It's cold enough to stimulate the benefits without really shocking the system. And then you really only want to start like 1 to 2 minutes. And just kind of listening to your body. There were points where definitely my feet were getting much more cold and my hands were getting much more cold. And so I feel like it was telling me it was time to get out. And then the other thing, like instead of going in there and going, oh, you got to really just relax. That's where that mindset comes in, taking some nice, slow, deep breaths and just like breathing through it. Inhale, exhale. Just like the first 30 seconds is the hardest part. The getting into, like making yourself get into it is the hardest part, but then that first 30 seconds is really challenging. And then you just want to go like, you know, to chest, neck to start with. your hands and feet, like I said, they'll get a little bit cold, but honestly, the first day on Friday, because I didn't want to get my clothes wet, I just went into my knees. I just stood in it, and it gave me, at least kind of cooled me down, and just kind of helped reset just a little bit. I mean, even if you could just do that to start with, just to get used to it and acclimated, just don't you don't have to go just great guns right away. Um, and then it talks about doing 2 to 3 cold plunges a week, building up 3 to 5 minutes in the lower temperatures over time. And then, once you get acclimated, do 10 to 12 minutes per week, split across sessions. But, I think if you're finding a lot of benefits to it, finding a lot of, great things. I mean, I really don't think it would hurt to do it every day. Just obviously watching for some frostbite. You just want to make sure that if you do have some issues or you're afraid, just don't do it alone. Like Destry said, if something happens, can somebody get you out of there? And then if you feel dizzy or numbness or confusion, you want to make sure that you get out immediately. So contraindications, if so contraindications are basically you shouldn't do this if you have these conditions. And so being pregnant, you wouldn't want to do this if you're pregnant. If you're pregnant, maybe you're just putting your feet in, your lower legs in it, but I wouldn't do a full body submersion. If you have heart conditions like heart disease, arrhythmia, or a pacemaker, definitely can change your heart rhythm or your heart beat rapidly. And so we wouldn't want to make anything worse in that regard. And so that's where, kind of making sure you have somebody around you because maybe you have a heart condition that you're not aware of. Also, respiratory problems like asthma or COPD can be exacerbated. Like when you get really cold like that, you could basically go into an asthma attack. Um, so just something to definitely be aware of. Seizures, fainting, or dizziness. Recently, that's kind of a tough one in really, really hot weather because we get dehydrated and you can get dizzy if you get up too quickly. And so, like I was getting hay on Sunday. Of course, it was 105, and it's the best day to bale hay. We all know that. And so I went to pick up the hay, and my hay guy, he says, "Yeah, I wasn't feeling very good." He goes, "I got really dizzy, and so I came inside and I took my blood pressure, and it was 70 over 50." And I'm like, "Oh, good Lord, like you were so dehydrated that your blood pressure dropped." And he goes, "Yeah, I'm feeling better now, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." So in this heat, definitely keep drinking water. Make sure you have some electrolytes on board, but don't just drink Gatorade. Make sure you're pushing the water and way more water than what you normally do because what happens when you get dehydrated, that blood pressure drops, and that's when you get lightheaded when you stand up quickly or things like that. So it's very, very, very important. And he was doing the hay alone out there, and I mean he's really lucky he didn't just pass out in the field. And so just make sure you're taking care of yourself, taking frequent breaks, and lots of water intake on this kind of stuff. But anyways, getting back to the cold plunging, you don't want to use it when you're under the influence of drugs and alcohol. I mean, I don't know that nobody showed up to the cold plunge with a beer in their hands, so I think I was good that way. But just want to make sure you have plenty of awareness of what's going on with yourself. Open wounds or incisions, you don't want to be in any kind of open water. You don't want to go in a hot tub or a pool if you have a surgical incision that is not healed yet or any kind of open wound because it will get infected. And then any recent surgeries or injuries that may be affected by cold exposure. So those are things that are either contraindications or definitely precautions that you would want to make sure you take into consideration before getting into one.
Absolutely. Well, lots of great things with cold plunging, and yeah, just do it safely. Do it safely, and then reap the benefits. If it's for you, that's great. It's such a great tool for recovery and building your mental resilience and the different benefits there. So definitely look into it. I mean, it's definitely worth a look for all that it can do for you.
Yeah, it really can help calm down like the nervous system. You know, talking to Sam, you know, she was having some like nerve pain that it really settled her nerve pain down. She was doing exercises, doing some, you know, PT to help those kinds of things, but she really felt like once she got into the cold plunging, that it really has benefited her tremendously in managing her pain. And so and if you don't have the opportunity or you have one of these contraindications that you can't get into a cold plunge, dang, you if you're having a spot that is painful, like don't underestimate the benefit of ice. I mean, get an ice pack on that sucker. You know, people used to joke with me, you know, they'd tell me, like my kids, like, oh, mom, this hurts. I'm like, well, go put an ice pack on it. You know, like they used to tell me that I thought it was the cure for everything. And it dang sure helps a lot of things. So if you can't cold plunge, at least get some ice on some painful areas. It may really help benefit you beyond just ibuprofen, and it's not a systemic thing. You can over ice, you know, you don't want to create frostbite, but definitely cold therapy is great, and it's easy to do this time of year. It's really hard to make yourself do an ice bath or a cold plunge or even put a cold pack on when it's 40 below. But this time of year is definitely a great time to reap the benefits of cold.
There are, if you do have sensitive feet, there are toe caps that you can get and put on your feet for cold plunging. We do have those for our athletes. So if you do have sensitive feet, maybe look into that and see if those toe caps can help with some of that sensitivity. I'll tell you, I've done it for myself and was doing it like once a week when I was working out really hard and stuff, coming back from my surgery towards the later phases. And I'll tell you, like the first time, the first 3 minutes, I stayed in there for 10 minutes the first time. I don't recommend that, but I did it. And
Mm.
it was the first 3 minutes were absolutely just miserable. And then after that, everything calmed down and I got out and the feeling afterwards is just so great. Like I just felt so good afterwards. My legs felt fresh. Your skin feels tight. I mean there's a there's definitely a great feeling after you do it. Uh, and again, you got to figure out how long is it for you? You know, like is it 3 to 5 minutes? You know, do you work your way up to 10? I definitely wouldn't do it for 10 minutes a day. I definitely don't do that. I would keep it under 3 to 5 if you're doing it every day. And, you know, that's, you got to determine if that's for you. If you like how it shocks your system, maybe a couple minutes in the cold plunge in the morning gets you going, that's fine. But the longer sessions are definitely not for an everyday type situation. So, yeah, figure it out if it's for you. Start with closer to that 60 degrees and then work your way down to 50 to 45. We usually keep our cold tub between 50 and 55. They do have temp checkers at like laser temp checkers at any hardware store that you can get, and that's how we check our cold tubs that aren't regulated by or aren't automatic or whatever. The ones that we put ice in, we do have a temp checker to see how cold the water is, and so and you're right. So like the emergency type setting, we're at between 55 and 60. So it doesn't completely shock their system. And so that's another reason why um we feel doing it in that situation because we have a way to monitor the temp as well.
Yeah. And if you don't have access to this or you're not even sure if you want to try it, one of the other recommendations that I've heard is just like you're in your shower and the last minute of your shower, turn it to cold. Like there's a huge benefit to that. I can't hardly make myself do that though. Like I don't know why, but I just can't. So what I think I'm going to do with my cold plunge is I'm going to set it up now here at home next to my hot tub. And so cuz I'm always really hot when I get out of my hot tub, and I'm going to go jump in my cold plunge for about a minute after I get out of the hot tub. I think that'd be a great way to utilize that. And it's also, like if you have bad circulation, going from hot to cold can be very beneficial. It's like an exercise for your blood vessels. And so it helps the blood vessels dilate. And so you get more circulation when you're in the hot tub, and then you get in the cold plunge and it will restrict, and then you can get back in the hot tub and it'll dilate, and then get in the cold plunge and it'll restrict. Um, so I'm going to do a little experimenting with that here this summer and see how I like that.
Yeah, we definitely use contrast in the rehab setting as well, and man, it does really good for us, and it's just the feeling of it, the feel good aspect and stuff of the hot and cold makes a difference as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I will have to say I made I've made 4 runs just this week with my horse, and I am not sore at all. Last year, I texted you or called you after Battle in the Saddle because it was my first run back in months. And Wednesday night, I went to a little local jackpot and made a run. I was slow, but I rode good. I just was like, it is surprising like how quickly you forget to go fast, which sounds really stupid. And there are probably going to be people out there that are poo-pooing me, but I really don't care because I know there are people out there that can relate to me. But like I just wanted Wednesday night, I just wanted to have everything correct, which I did, but I was so stinking slow. It was what I needed though to get my butt in gear to ride better this weekend. So I was in the 2D, I think, pretty much all weekend, just didn't pick up any money. But I felt like I rode my horse well. And like I said, I'm not sore at all. And a big part of that could be the cold plunging. So I have been working out, which last year I hadn't been working out before I went and rode. I did some things to stimulate my nervous system. You and I have talked about the vision therapy kind of stuff. And so I did some saccades. So just kind of went back and forth quickly with my eyes between my two thumbs before I'd go in, just to kind of get my reaction time quicker without going and doing a whole lot of other things to, since it was so hot. And so that I think that was helpful. I don't know. Like I said, I felt like I rode good for the most part. I did tip a barrel on Saturday, of course, in the slot race when I have more money down. But I just didn't get him deep enough on the backside of the barrel, and I tipped it. So, but it was a good weekend all in all.
Yeah, I got to go to a rodeo for the first time since 2022. I entered a rodeo, open rodeo, nothing big, just good open rodeo, and the cattle were good, and so my wife wanted to go run barrels there, and I was like, "Well, I ain't gonna just not in here." So um, I ended up finding a run there. I'd been at a soccer event doing uh, I guess you could call it contracting or whatever, some extra work at a soccer tournament, and then met my wife and went right to the rodeo, and so got the best of both worlds there, and made a good run. So it was nice to kind of flip the switch there from jackpot mode to rodeo mode, and I think that going between those two has helped me in the past. So yeah, no, and honestly, like obviously I don't rodeo for a living, and so um I just really enjoy doing it. And I think just the joy of doing it and and the fire to compete still is something that just really made it fun for me and made it a good experience and good things happen when you enjoy what you're doing and so um, yeah, it was a really good weekend. Also, on a quick thing on the shower thing, I've done that as well, and you can control. So, especially on a hot day, man, like at the end of the day, you get out of the roping pen or just riding or ranching or whatever it is you're doing, and you're in the shower, and you just gradually crank that dial back to where you can tolerate it, and then hold it there for 30 seconds or a minute or whatever you want. I do a 30 count and get it to where I just slowly back it off. And when it gets to where I'm like, yeah, that's probably about all I can take, then I'll just sit in it for 30 minutes. And man, it just really refreshes you. And especially on a hot day, man, it just brings you back to life. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's, whatever you need to do, whatever's in your budget, but it's definitely something that is very affordable and anybody can do because everybody has to shower. And so, or some kind of, we
please,
all hope you
shower,
do.
please.
Please shower.
Don't be the
So,
smelly kid. Don't go to bed dirty.
yeah, so anybody can do this, and there's so many benefits to it. Even helps boost your immune system. So it helps you sleep better, it helps your mood. So all you moody people out there, get yourself in a cold tub. There's
Go cool off.
you go cool
Go
off.
cool off, all you hot blooded people.
There's a few people I'd like to throw in a cold tub because they're moody.
Okay. Here we go. Here we go.
All
That's
right,
for
well,
next
we
time. We'll
better.
talk about that for next time.
Yeah,
Who do you
exactly.
want to throw in the cold tub? When you want to throw somebody in the cold tub, this is how you talk yourself out of it.
Yeah, maybe I need to throw myself in the cold tub when I want to throw someone in there. Yeah.
We'll have a psychologist on sometime. I
Good idea.
can call them, you're crazy.
Yeah. All
Uh,
right.
All right. Well, I think that's all we have today. And thank you all for listening. And as always, thank you for your support, whether it's at an event or on social media or on our YouTube channel. Thank you for liking, subscribing, following us. It helps us reach more people. And man, we just do it because we truly love this. And I think that's uh, that's the foundation that we've built everything that we do on, from programming to working on people to doing the podcast. Man, we just do it because we love it. And so thank you all for your support, and as always, let your health be the pivot point to your success.